Hey, it's Bob from the 12 Days of Content from Leadpages once again. Even if you don't call yourself one, anyone who's marketing their product or service online is a copywriter. And today's gift breaks down the copy hacks from a successful course launch campaign. This gift features JoannaWiebe's live stage presentation from our Converted 2017 conference. Joanna is the founder of Copy Hackers, and I know you're going to love what she shows you in this video. Enjoy.
I'm here to talk to you today about copywriting. And we've kind of been talking about copywriting along the way anyway, because copywriting, whether you're a copywriter or not, it's a big part of the work that you're going to do when you're in conversion rate optimization, when you're a digital marketer, when you send emails or write landing pages, you're writing copy. So I'm going to talk today about some copy hacks. I created Copy Hackers, so this is actually the first time I've used that as my title, which feels like a big miss, like I should have been using that the whole time. But I'm going to talk about, in particular, a campaign that we did for ourselves. Normally when I get up here and talk, I'm talking about some tests that we did for somebody else and showing you some insights there. And I'm still going to do some of that today too, but I'm also going to talk to you really kind of cool about our own campaign that we did for the launch of Copy School, which is our online copywriting program, the big one that we offer. We have a few of them. It's the big one that we offer. So in talking about copywriting, who identifies as someone who writes copy or even reviews copy as part of your job? Good number of people. Any email you write to anybody, even to your boss, you're copywriting. Anytime you're trying to get somebody to say yes, you are writing copy. You're in the act of trying to persuade somebody. That's all that copywriting is. It's your online salesperson. When we talk about copywriting, very often what comes up is this idea of, features versus benefits, and make sure you're leading with your benefit and talk about outcomes and results and that kind of stuff. And I actually talked to a really smart founder the other day who asked me a question about this product that we're building, and he said, "What's the benefit?" And I was kind of deflated immediately, because I have found, as somebody who's a conversion copywriter, I've been in CRO for 10 years now, focusing fully on testing copy to see what's going to get more people to buy. To hear benefit to me now, I'm really jaded on the whole idea of benefits, and I want to, not that benefits aren't a good thing, we all need benefits, absolutely, fully, completely, but it's not enough. A benefit, even a great benefit, is not enough to move people, as many people as you could move, to say yes. So this idea, and what I'm going to talk about here today, comes from really old school copywriters. So if you are at all a copy or marketing or CRO geek, you probably have heard of some of the legendary copywriters. Yes, there are legendary copywriters. Gene Schwartz. I don't know if any fans in the audience? Some Gene Schwartz, yeah? John Caples. John Caples? No, okay, sorry. I mean, these guys did a lot, and now they're gone, so they deserve a little high five. Claude Hopkins, those kinds of guys. But they had ideas that shaped where we are today. And then some of those ideas went away, and it's our job to go back and find what we're missing, and that's my job, really, and I'm going to share that with you. One of the key things that Gene Schwartz said, so Gene Schwartz is one of those great copywriters. I'm going to give you this quote right now, and I want you to think about it at least the next 3 times you write anything. And I'm going to show you how we implement this in our campaigns, and especially the campaign for Copy School. But when we're talking about benefits and features and that kind of stuff, we're really talking about trying to sell a better mousetrap. So the benefit that you sell is really like eliminating a problem in a nice, friendly way. Old school copywriters, people who are actually trying to get the sale, say it is not about building better mousetraps. It's not about selling a better mousetrap. If that's what you're selling, your conversion rate will probably stay around 2%. You'll be happy there. 2%, it's not where it could be, though. It's about building larger mice and a terrifying fear of them in your customers. Now, yeah, there's a little giggles, right? Like, not a lot of people like this, and I'm sure, like, your CMO or CEO would be like, yeah, that's fine for them. We're not doing it that way. Okay, fine, but test it. Test this other sort of approach that isn't about the better mousetrap. Test actually making that mouse, that pain, get bigger and more terrifying, so that then you can sell that mousetrap. So I'm kind of retitling this talk Project Massive Mouse, because that was our goal when we were launching Copy School, to make people really feel the pain of not knowing how to write their own copy, how to actually communicate to get the yes. So one of the key reasons that this is so important is not just because some old white guy said that we should do this, but because so many of your sales are lost to no decision. People just don't decide. They had a problem, they're good, they're gonna live with it, it's fine, just gonna keep going on as they did. There's a huge opportunity in that number. We're at the Converted conference. We're here to increase conversion rates by actively trying to do things that get rid of numbers like this. 60% lost, not to your competition. You're looking at your competition like they're doing well, or the incumbent's super awesome at their job. Nope, people are just saying, I don't really care. Nobody feels anything. And pain is a big thing that they can feel, that problem, the terrifying fear of the larger mouse. We think it's fear-mongering. We tell ourselves that. Oh, it's an excuse, of course, to get away from actually doing the work of making people feel something when they desperately need to feel something. Your competitors are making them feel nothing. The moment your competitors make them feel something, they have an advantage over you. It's your job to beat them to that, to make people actually feel something. Now the question might be, well, Joanna, why do we have to make them, why does it have to be a pain-associated thing? Like, we want to be delightful marketers. Why do we have to ever go to the point of problem? A couple reasons, 2 reasons at least. Stages of awareness. Who is familiar with the 5+1 stages of awareness? Woo, woo. I literally can see like 4 people up front. Like, I have no visibility to the back, so I'm hopeful. So I'm going to talk about stages of awareness a little bit in this talk, so I just want to take a moment here to walk you through. People start in unaware. This is really top of funnel down to bottom of funnel kind of stuff. Unaware, pain aware. I'm aware of my pain now. I feel a pain. I don't know about solutions yet. Solution aware means I'm aware that there are solutions. I haven't heard of your product yet. Product aware is I am aware of your product. I'm not sure if it's right for me. Most aware is I'm pretty sure it's right for me, but I'm not moving yet. And most aware with high intent is where you're really closing them. Basic stages of awareness. When you're writing copy, you need to think about this. When you're putting your funnel together, you need to think about this, okay? The customer is born in the pain. It's the moment, they're like in the gestation period in unaware, they're actually born in that pain awareness, and that's where your job becomes to move them from pain aware through all those stages of awareness to the moment of actually closing them as most aware with high intent. So because we're born there, that's where it actually happens, that's where the customer begins. Doesn't it kind of make logical sense that we should join them more often in the pains that they're feeling? Second reason that I want us to think about the pain and the problem is because as a conversion copywriter, I do like a lot of A/B testing. And I know that there are better things than A/B testing. Brendan talked about personalization with his awesome software. But in our A/B testing, and I'm sure this will prove out as well with personalization stuff, one of the key frameworks that works again and again and again and again for us when we're testing copy is a framework that goes problem, agitation, solution. And I'm going to show you what this looks like, but problem, agitation, solution is really how you want to frame out your copy as a really good test, right? Like, I'm not saying you have to go forward and only do things this way, but if we're here to increase conversion rates, you're involved in testing then. Try testing a framework where you write the message, starting with the problem, agitating that problem, then solving that problem. We see this work again and again, and here's an example. I've mentioned this example on our blog over at Copy Hackers. I've spoken about it at a few conferences too, but it's a really good case study. That's why I want to share it with you. So this is a landing page for a product called Sweatblock. Sweatblock is a solution for people who suffer from hyperhidrosis, or like they just like sweat a lot. Not even because they're hot or anything, but like their hands sweat, back of your knees sweat, obviously your underarms, everything just like sweats that you don't want to sweat. So Sweatblock solves that. This is the control version, which leads with the solution, which is Sweatblock. And I don't think I sat at the back yesterday, I couldn't see a thing on the screen, so I'm gonna read some of this stuff out for you guys. But the control headline is Control Sweat, Stop Embarrassment. Leading with the problem and a benefit associated with it. This is selling a better mousetrap. Okay. We tested a variation against this, and this actually outperformed the control that came before it. So this is a strong control to test against. It was already converting very well. Our new variation against it led with the problem. Not the solution. The solution's way down at the bottom. The actual product shot is way down. And this isn't the full page, by the way. This is like the top 1,500 pixels of it or something. A couple scrolls through it. This one led with the problem. I'm going to zoom in and show you what that really looks like. Okay, so this is problem. The problem is it doesn't even have to be hot out. My armpits are always wet, in quotation marks. Good little side hack, put things in quotation marks. That's the problem. Then we agitate the problem. The goal here is to make people feel something. Remind them of their pain, make that mouse bigger, right? So we have, if you suffer from excessive sweating, deodorant isn't enough, and then we get into things that you have to do to hide your secret. It just blipped, so I just wanted to make sure we're good. Never wearing light blue or light gray, wearing a sweat soaker undershirt, tucking tissues inside your shirt, trying not to move much, wearing sleeveless, colorless tops in the summer, avoiding pointing, low-fiving instead of high-fiving. We just go through and agitate. And Pat talked about this earlier as well, about actually getting into those real specific moments that make people think that you're inside their head, like, yep, each one of those is true for me. Oh my gosh, it's totally true. Then, and only then, once they feel something, then we get into the solution. And you can see that the product is way down here. Now, before I actually get into how this test turned out, if you're wondering, well, where do I find these pains? Pat mentioned listen to your customers. Teresa also mentioned to listen to your customers. And a really easy, because I'm all about shortcuts, a really easy way, not that you shouldn't do the other things, but if you want to do this right now and have that 10-minute transformation, go over to Amazon reviews for your product, for products like your product, for products that your prospects hire to do the job your product is supposed to do for them. Read through those reviews. They're filled with pains. Everything that was agitation in that sweat block page I just showed you came completely from Amazon review mining. And you can go do that now. I wouldn't even fault you for stopping, not listening anymore, and just going and looking at that. That would be fine because you'd end up with a bunch of pains you can turn into really good copy. Our variation B outperformed the control by 49%. So 49% more paid conversions by leading with the problem, which is an extremely uncomfortable thing for basically every marketer on the planet to do. If you feel uncomfortable about it, don't worry, you're not alone, but you also might be doing something that's moving in the right direction then because it makes you uncomfortable. Okay, so that's kind of bringing you on board with the idea that you need to start thinking about building that bigger mouse, not selling that better mousetrap. So how do we actually build a massive mouse? Now I'm going to talk you through the launch of Copy School, which is, again, that program that we sell. One second. Copy School training program teaches you to write landing pages, emails, stuff like that. Our launch was this ridiculous, Canadian money. It was $1 trillion or something, which is actually, of course, about 500,000 US dollars for this. But it turns into a lot in Canadian dollars, so make all this money with this launch that you do. And you go buy a sick car and you chill out with Tai Lopez, which of course none of that absolutely happened. The money happened, but I don't think this guy even knows how to chill out. All those YouTube ads that you get before you can watch the Photoshop tutorial you want to watch, and I can't handle seeing Tai Lopez's house anymore. And if there's any friends of Tai Lopez, I apologize, I just don't want to see it anymore. So no, we didn't actually spend any of that money on that stuff. What we did, what makes us kind of not too shabby though, as a launch, is that this launch happened with a 2-person team. The cart was open for 5 days. I'm going to walk you through all of this stuff. Approximately $10,000 in expenses, including salaries, to make this launch happen. It was one in a series of launches, so it wasn't a standalone all by itself. People were waiting for years. Nope. It followed other launches that we did, and it came before other launches as well. The product was about a $2,000 product. And the average subscriber value was approximately $10 per subscriber. So with that money, and if you're not making courses, you're not selling courses, I'm not trying to sell you on selling courses, but you can do really cool stuff with course launches. You can do what we did. Instead of buying the Ferrari and hanging out with Ty Lopez, we are able now to self-fund a product that we love building. It's this crazy, foolish thing that you do. If you're building a company and you're like struggling at any point, you need cash flow, a course can be a really, really strong way to bring in some cash. It's not always going to be $500,000. That was the first time we did a $500,000 launch, but you will build up to that. You can get to that point. I'm going to talk you through exactly what we did. Okay, so we're able to keep self-funding this by using this workflow, which I hope it shows up. Okay, so this is like the view of my life where I look like an electrician, kind of. This is how electricians do their job. I'm going to pretend that's how my job goes. They said to do a workflow, so I was like, I don't even know how to do a flow chart. So I put this together, and hopefully it is helpful. I'm going to walk you through what this looks like and then walk you through the pieces of it. So we have in the top left, I have no pointer, but in the top left, basic lead collection, right? You're always building your list. You can't really launch a course or any product very successfully without a list. 4,000 person list, awesome. You can do great things with that. We did our first launch with a 3,000 person list, and I think we made $30,000 at that time. But you're building your list constantly, right? That's why it's a big reason a lot of us use Leadpages. Build that list, nurture the list with drip. Okay, then comes up at the top here, and if you can't see this, I wasn't smart enough to put a lead digits thing together, so you can't text me and like automatically get the slides, but if you want to see a close-up, just like stop me and I'll email you the slides. But along the top, anybody familiar with Jeff Walker's product launch formula? It's been mentioned a couple times, right? Has anybody actually used the product launch formula? 1, 2, 3, literally can't see anybody. Okay, that's fine. So this is what we were doing. It was Jeff Walker's product launch formula that we implemented here. I took the course. It's a great program. If you are not familiar and you're interested in launching digital products, go Google Jeff Walker product launch formula. It'll help a lot. So the whole idea with the campaign is you start out with these 3/4 screens up at the top are videos that are part of what's called a sideways sales letter or a sideways sales page. I'll use those interchangeably throughout. Then you drive those people through to a long-form sales page. At least that's our implementation of it. The core of it is really just have this sideways sales page that's there to pull people into your campaign before you even open your cart. Okay, so you're not ready to actually accept credit cards yet. You're just building anticipation. In this phase, we're really building or making that mouse kind of more real. Then we drove them, people who attended one of these workshops that we had was a live workshop. We drove those people to a long-form sales page when we opened cart just for the people who attended that live training in 2 segments, and Teresa mentioned this as well, segmenting people who register for your live events based on whether they attended or did not attend. So we had a special bonus for those who did attend, and then we just told the people who'd also registered about this program and that it was opening early just for them. So we had those 2 offers that were for the 2 different segments, which is, of course, a big reason that we segment. So that's the top half of the page here, okay? So that's all Jeff Walker's product launch formula. Let's pretend you didn't do it, or let's kind of separate these 2 parts out. The bottom half of what's showing here is off to the left, the emails that we sent. Friday's kind of cut out now, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, those were the days that we opened our cart, that we had the cart open. Almost all of those days drive to a long-form sales page. It was largely the same long-form sales page as we went, and there were segments involved there as well. So segment A, B, C, and D, where some of those were people who, again, had registered, people who had registered but not attended, people who have identified as copywriters, and then everybody else, which is that ugly bucket that you just have to deal with when you're doing a launch, like the big bucket of just all the people. But we sent those emails. With segmentation, you don't find yourself really sending a lot of emails because you can send really relevant emails that get opened better and all of the good stuff that comes with segmentation. Those, up until the day we closed our cart, those all drove to the same landing page. The day the cart closed, we drove them to a much shorter landing page, which is a checkout page, which I'm going to show you. Quick calendar view of what this looks like. If you're like, well, maybe we should do a launch, here's what our calendar looked like. So on the first day of March, we opened up on a Wednesday, intentionally on a Wednesday, middle of the week. We sent out a link to our first video. So that gave people about 6 days to engage with that content. And this is, again, videos that are part of the Sideways sales page. So video 1 goes out. We give ourselves 6 days so that we have enough time to email people who haven't opened or who haven't clicked through. Maybe they did open the email, but they didn't click through. That gives us a good amount of time to get people into that first video, to get them hooked on the video a bit, or at least to start the hooking process. Video 2 went out on a Tuesday. It was followed almost immediately, 2 days later, with a live workshop, which happened on the same day that we actually opened cart to this smaller segment of our list, which happened with video 4. If you're not, I'm going through this very, very quickly. We can talk in detail if you're actually really interested in this stuff. And then, of course, we opened the cart to a small group on Thursday, to everybody else on Friday. We closed it on the Tuesday in the afternoon. So it's a short cart open, but it was very intentional. The reason people talk about how long your cart should be open, and we heard like a week or 10 days or 14 days, we keep our cart open as many days as we can based on this one idea. And you probably find this a lot in your business. The only days our cart is open are days in which we have a reason to send an email. Your whole job is about finding reasons, good, compelling reasons to send an email. And if you don't have a reason to send an email, you shouldn't send an email. So if my cart is open 10 days, I need at least 10 good reasons to send an email. Good reasons include a bonus just opened up, a bonus is closing down, our cart just opened up, our cart is closing. Those are some really good ones, which means for like an 8-day cart open, you'd need to have a whole bunch of bonuses in there because you've really got cart open at the beginning, cart close at the end, and then all these days to fill in the middle. So that's why we have a 5-day cart. We can have 2 bonuses throughout, a weekend slump reducer bonus, and then the final bonus at the end. But this is a good way to think about how long your cart should be open, and really a lot of things when it comes to actually marketing. Do you have a reason to send an email? If you don't, should that day still be part of your campaign? Okay, so now we're going to get into the 3 key parts of this and some copy hacks within them. Now, when I look at this, again, I'm not a trained electrician, but when I look at it, I see kind of critical things going on here. Wherever there's like a cluster of stuff, that's probably an important thing. So a place that we can optimize when we're thinking as like conversion rate optimizers. Okay, so we've got the sideways sales letter. We can talk through some hacks for that. Also important is this long form sales page, because look at all the links coming into it. If you do not optimize your long form sales page, you're kind of nuts, right? Like it's a huge part. People have to convert here and all the emails are driving there. So we want to optimize that as well as these emails. So we can do all of that, right? We can actually break this down and optimize all of these things. But I want to point out that all of these pieces worked together in this campaign, in the launch of Copy School. That was this $500,000 launch. They all work together toward building that bigger mouse and, honestly, a terrifying fear of it. And I know terrifying fear isn't sitting right with some people. It didn't sit right with me for a long time. But interpret that how you will. Make it palatable to yourself, whatever terrifying fear looks like for you, where you can get past the idea of making people feel something. Do that. Make that your job to understand how that's going to work in your business. They all work together like this. So when we're talking about a mousetrap, before the campaign, before anybody even enters this campaign, they have a little problem, right? Like their copy kind of sucks. Whatever, like, okay. Then after the sideways sales page, they're starting to see like, okay, this is a real problem. It's not a little cartoony problem. This is a real thing. And it's not until the emails start going that like it starts getting creepy in there. Like you're like, okay, it's a real thing and I can't really ignore it anymore. I don't want to ignore it anymore. We have to do something about it. And then by the time that we're at the long form sales page, we're in a disgusting, terrifying fear of this bigger mouse. They all work together. These components work together. So I want to make that really clear. I want to start by talking about, with 20 minutes left, I want to start by talking about the sideways sales letter / sideways sales page. And again, that's the 4-video thing. This is where we're going to introduce an agitate pane, make that mouse real and big, at the top of funnel. So for this is what a completed sideways sales page really looks like with the 4 videos. Again, Google product launch formula and take his training. But this is what we're putting together. You're doing 4 videos to start building that bigger mouse. But when you sit down to write the script for the video, I'm like, what do I actually like make these about? Like, it's all fine and good that I have to end up with these videos, but what do I actually make them about? And this is a big problem for most people when they're writing copy is I just don't know what it should even be about. I don't even know where it starts. So very simply, we're just going to make the job a nice, simple, not stressful job of simply making the mouse real. So we want to identify the problem. Good. Identify your prospect's problem, and then just start bringing it to life, right? We're going to put that mouse under the covers, just make it like real in their life, and then we're going to make it really kind of awful in their lives with the moving around under your sheets and stuff like that. And then by the end of each video, you're going to give part of the solution. So they have felt a lot by the time they're done a video, but they've also seen that you might be the right one to train them on how to get rid of this mouse. You might be able to help them actually trap it. So what that turns into for a video outline, can you even see any of that? Not yet. Okay, good. Is this. So we identify the mouse, and in this case for our video one, it was low conversion rates on landing pages. Okay, that's a problem. That's a problem. It's not a huge physically felt problem though. So let's put it under the covers. Message confusion is actually costing you money, and it actually should be making you money. Then make it bite. What does that look like? How specific can you get with that pain? Leaves you so confused you give up, ignore the page, and throw more money at driving traffic to it. And then we get into the lesson, which is really how to solve that. And we have this worksheet and examples that go with it at every stage, right? So we're not just putting these words down on the page. This is just us framing out the script and then adding in examples at every single part of it so that it comes to life for your prospect. And then a worksheet is a big part when you're doing a sideways sales page. Make sure that you build every script you do around that worksheet that your prospect needs to complete. Video 2, same kind of thing, also with the worksheet, identifying the mouse. In this case, it was contractors. Like, well, if I'm not going to write this landing page myself, should I hire a contractor to do it instead of trying to learn to do it myself? Problem is, contractors that don't know any better than you do, putting that under the covers, okay, you're going to now spend money, good money, on hiring a copywriter. You don't know if they're any good, and you're probably going to have to review all their copy, which is the part of making it bite, end up rewriting everything, starting all over again, hiring more copywriters, repeating the cycle. Support all of that stuff with examples and make them fill out the worksheet as they go through it. This is a really simple framework, and if you are familiar or you remember my slide about problem, agitation, solution, you see that's exactly the same framework here. Identify the problem, agitate that problem, solve the problem. Works again and again and again, which is why I get up here and preach it so often and still fail to see it happening on pages out there. So this is what we want to do in making that mouse real. Then we want to get into writing emails that agitate, where they actually agitate. They don't have to agitate the same point all the time. That's what emails are great for. They're like little mini sales pages for each different problem you can identify. So we want to use emails not to send information, not to sell, but to agitate, to make people feel something. You're going to poke at that pain, and you're going to promise some morphine. Or in this case, really, you're going to promise the trapping of the mouse. So we want to make the mouse the enemy at this point, okay? So they've felt the pain, they've made the mouse real with the sideways sales page, and now we're gonna make it the enemy, the thing that has to be eliminated. And when you do this, people will feel things, real things, and they won't know what to do with those feelings in some cases because we're not used to feeling things. So you'll get responses like we got. To one email in particular, overwritten guff was a response that somebody gave us to an email. Another one was, guys, Joe, love your work. Thanks for pushing and exploring. Much appreciated. Hello, I enjoyed your webinar, but you're sending too many emails. Your continued use of profanity in your emails really bothers me. Keep up the good work. We're using your strategies. Amazing email. So people send you feedback when they feel things. They don't know what they're feeling necessarily. Some are just going to move forward and actually like click and go through to the landing page. Other ones will be uncomfortable that you made them feel anything. We had 40 responses to this email in particular, 40 handwritten responses to this one email I'm going to show you, not out of office responses either, like fully like people saying what it made them feel, and that's 4 times what we normally get as a response to any of the emails that we send. We made people feel something, and they reacted. And that's what's going to happen. You don't even have to ask for a reaction. They felt something, they will react to you. So here's what that email looks like. We write long emails. You have to write long emails to agitate at all, to bring anything to life. But let me zero in just on the opening of it so you can see why people had reactions to it. This one, the subject line is, "I'm not okay." Okay, so you get an email from Joe at CopyHackers, and the subject line is, "I'm not okay." You might open it to see what's up with Joe. Okay, hey, it's your landing page here, i.e. the forgotten red-headed stepchild of your marketing funnel, i.e. the thing you send thousands of hard-earned expensive clicks to, yet haven't checked in for months to see how I was even doing. Hint, I'm not okay. Anyway, I know it's weird that I'm reaching out to you like this, but you left me no choice. And then we go on from there, writing the email from the point of view of the landing page. No big shock, people wrote that it's overwritten guff because it was pretty overwritten, but they felt something and that's all they could reply with. Then the other side of it is, "Thanks for pushing and exploring, much appreciated." Some people just want to sleep. They just want to move through life not feeling anything. They worry that once they feel something, they're going to have to do something about it. So there's that half, those people who are going to send you the hater emails when you try to agitate them. But then there are the other people who are completely dying to wake up, who are so ready to feel something again. And you have a choice. You have a choice which one you're going to pander to. You can only write for one of those 2 audiences. Which one might be the one to actually build your business around? Now, as you kind of think about which one you want to hear from, which one you want to communicate with, which one you want to build a tribe with, know that as we're talking about all of this stuff, especially emails, building that big bad mouse actually takes words. So you're going to have to write longer copy a lot of the time. Not all the time, and I'm going to talk about that a bit. But I strongly discourage you from writing for scanners, people who scan, "Oh, I don't read online," or writing for haters, people who would write back to you and say, "Stop sending me so much stuff," or whatever it might be. Put those guys out of your head. They're not going to help you actually grow your business. They're not going to do it, but they will sink in harder and faster than any of the good stuff you hear. So try hard to block this out as you experiment with emails that agitate. Now, when I say emails that agitate, it doesn't have to come off as a big, scary, terrifying, awful, evil mouse that makes your brand look bad or something. I get branding. I fully 100% get the need to make your brand feel good. We're not talking about pain messaging that's going to make people feel bad. It's just going to make them feel something to begin with. So as an example, outside of our campaign, an example of how we apply this kind of stuff with clients that we've worked with, Wistia was mentioned yesterday. We love Wistia. We've been using Wistia forever. We ran a test with Wistia, and I talk about this in greater detail on the CopyHackers blog, but they have a few onboarding sequences, and there's this one 8-part onboarding sequence for trial users of Wistia, where the whole goal is to move those trial users to paid. So there are 3 different sequences. We decided to work on the one that moved people to paid. Okay, so Wistia had their control emails, that's going to be A here, and then we wrote our variation B. And that's going to be B here. You can see, comparing the 2 side by side, we don't even have to read it. You don't have to get into it to know one is taking more words than the other one is, with the goal of making people feel something. That's the whole purpose. That's why we're going long, not just because long copy works, but because you need more words to make people feel something. Of course, when we sent this over to Andrew, when we sent this over to Andrew at Wistia, who's everybody at Wistia, they're great marketers. He was like, "Okay, cool, like this is neat, but it's just, it's more copy than we're used to." And I was like, "We're just gonna test it. We're all part of a testing culture. Let's just test this. If it makes you uncomfortable, we have a solution for that today. You test it." So we tested it, and this new variation outperformed the control. all the 8 emails that we tested outperformed the control, and I have like the final number, not the per email number, but 7 of our 8 emails that we tested here were 2 to 5 times the length of the control. They just took more words because we wanted people to feel something. And they generated a 350% lift in paid conversions. Everything's the same except we're saying more things on the page to make concepts come to life and make you actually feel something. So as you're writing emails, know that pain or a problem creates a killer hook, and your email needs a hook. There's no question about it. All of your emails need a hook. Even your newsletters need a hook. Agitation, then, is what keeps them reading. It keeps coming down to everything is better with this framework. Try this framework when you test something next. One sec. So here are a couple examples, quick examples of how this looks and looked in our Copy School launch. Here is one of the emails that we sent out that was problem agitation solution. I'll zoom in and read just the top of it for you. The subject line is lost, ? Begins with a pain, in quotes. I just want to feel like I know what I'm doing. I must have heard that line 1,000 times from 1,000 copywriters. It's never openly confessed, of course, not at first. It takes some time chatting, then some more intense chatting, then usually a glass of wine or 2 before the truth comes out at last. I just don't know how to do blank yet, so I can't charge more. I just don't know how to do blank yet, so I can't attract the best clients. I just don't know how to do blank yet, so I shouldn't bother growing my list. Fill in that blank with anything because there's always something new to fill in here. Now, this is just talking about problems they have and phrasing it in different ways so that you can actually agitate that and land on some of those pains that they actually do feel. And then we move them still further into agitating, and then we get into the solution, which you can see happens maybe on the second or third screen that's tucked away behind there. We did this again. This happens again and again on our closing day email as well, on one of the ones that we sent there. Subject line is, "K, I'm worried." Then it opens with, "My BFF Ange hates it when I worry. My cats Lily and Puff hate it when I stress. The cashier guy at Tim Hortons hates it when I get that furrowed look right between my eyebrows. He knows even a 20-pack of Timbits won't fix it. And obviously." And then we continue on, right? So we're there writing emails that agitate. It's not rocket science. You just have to have kind of the courage to go forward and test it. Just try doing it. See if you can make people feel something. This isn't even feeling something about themselves. This is just feeling something. It's actually about me. It's my worry. It's things that are going on that are stressful for me. But nonetheless, they're feeling something. Okay, so we've talked about the sideways sales letter, bringing that mouse kind of, making him real. Then we agitate and bring that kind of to life and make it more painful. And now we're going to get into, finally, the long enough sales page. So we just want to join people where they're at and then close them on your sales page. When you hear a long form sales page, you tend to think the whole goal is to be long, and that's not the goal at all. That's not, so if you're writing a long form sales page thinking this needs to be longer than it is, it doesn't, and I've seen copywriters do that, and it's very, very sad to me. What you're trying to do at this point is, of course, sell the death of this scary guy here. But the goal in doing that, the way that we do that, is to think through those stages of awareness. Again, there's a reason I brought them up and walk you through them, because we're going to talk about them a little bit more right now. A long-form sales page exists to move prospects from their starting stage of awareness through to most aware with high intent. That's why it exists. It moves them all the way through. So your job becomes to identify that starting stage of awareness and then to write your page from that point on. Most sales pages start in pain aware. They just do. You open with the pain, and then you move them through solution and all the way down to most aware with high intent. But the thing about this campaign is that we had the sideways sales page, and we had at least one first email that drove people to this long form sales page. So people were joining our sales page in solution aware, which meant that we had actually a much shorter sales page than a lot of other sales pages we've done, because we had the sideways sales letter, the Jeff Walk product launch formula thing was going on for us. So our sales page could be shorter to the tune of, it's usually, the ones that we did before were about 30,000 pixels tall, and this one was 16,000. So, and you might be like, wow, you spend a lot of time on pain before. But it's amazing how much we could actually offload onto the sideways sales letter and let that do a lot of the work. And that means that you land people on a page where they don't see a teeny tiny little scroll bar up in the top and go like, oh my gosh, I have to get through all of this. And then they start scrolling. It's not going to be as long a page. They can actually get through it better in most cases. So our page, broken down, looked like this. This is our Copy School sales page. Importantly, do spend some time designing your sales pages. It helps a lot. Point here is that solution aware makes the page shorter. But we still want to have pain and agitation messaging in there. It's just around solutions, around trying to find the right solution at this point. So for us, I'm just going to give you some quick examples of what that really looked like. Solution awareness, they're aware that they need to write copy that converts and that there's that's the pain and that there's got to be a way to do this. So we match their solution awareness and we start to touch on the pain. Around it all comes down to execution. Again, touching on the pain, you don't have to hit people over the head with this. You just can't only sell the benefit anymore. And then we agitate the pain even more as we move down the page. You can really agitate pain and keep building that mouse and making it more terrifying until you get to the point where you're introducing your product. At that point, you don't have to go as hard on talking about this terrifying mouse anymore. That's like a good point to start transitioning out of selling the pain and moving into really selling that product that you want people to buy. So let me go and kind of zoom in on part of this sales page so you can see what it looks like. For those at the back, again, I apologize. But I'm going to read a bit of this, and then I'll have stuff that appears off to the side. So let me read the copy, this pain copy. It opens with this at the top of the actual body copy. Your first challenge was creating a product or service that could be infinitely profitable. The second is figuring out how to make people who should be your customers understand that they need what you've got. If you've written copy more than once, you know the feeling. You sit down to write the email that's supposed to sell people on your solution, but there's a voice in your head reminding you how hard it was the last time you tried to write copy. And even when your copy manages to convince people, the next time you have to write copy that should convert, you feel like you're trying to win the lottery on command. And then we keep moving through, agitating, it continues, and we start introducing the solution, how that solves the pain, using specifics to make people really feel it, getting to the core argument for the solution, continuing with the solution, we're not pulling back here at all yet, and only then starting to get into the product. So we want to take a lot of time to move people through. Now, there's not more words here than there need to be. We're not getting excessively long. We're not long for the sake of long. We're just moving people through those stages of awareness. Once we've done that, then you sell your product and close them. That's it. You do not take more words than you need to close them. Don't move them so far away from the feeling you've created in them to the point that they buy. You need a close. It has to get nice and closed up, not a big gap between the feeling and the point of purchase. Once they're really feeling the pain, once they understand the solution, once they're very product aware, or most aware with high intent, once they're way down here at the bottom, which is usually what happens on the last day of a campaign, drive them straight to, well, for us it was Samcart. Now that Leadpages has that checkout thing you can put in a page, I'm very interested in that. But this is where we drove them in this case. On the last day, no more long form sales page, no need to read through everything. We're depending on all the work that we've done to this point. We close them on this sales page. So very quickly to recap here with 2 minutes to go at the campaign level, the sideways sales letter, the emails, and that sales page work together to make the mouse bigger. And then we want to try to move people to trap that mouse at the copy level using the problem agitation solution framework in everything that you write. You might think it'll get tiring. You might think people will start to notice, oh, I'm always leading with pain, I'm always agitating it. That's kind of a good problem. If they're reading your copy that much that they're noticing that kind of stuff, that's a really good problem, and it's unlikely to happen. We use it all the time, and I don't get people writing to me going can you just try a different framework next time? That doesn't actually happen. Now, to close out this, yes, better mousetraps are a very safe thing to sell. It's like the whole IBM thing. No one ever got fired for selling a better mousetrap. It's going to be scarier to do the part where you build this terrifying mouse. But let me kind of leave you with an example of why we need to do this. Does anybody know this? Tip it flat down, right? Most of us have seen this. Anybody in conversion rate optimization has probably seen this. If you haven't, just quickly familiarize yourself with it. It's possibly the most famous ad in the history of advertising. The headline ripped off by all clickbait everywhere. They laughed when I sat down at the piano, but when I started to play. I'm not selling a benefit. There's no benefit there. It's not a better mousetrap we're talking about. It's a problem, something that actually made you feel something. Okay, this was written by John Caples. In the 1920s, this went out in 1924. 1924, he publishes this. It sells books to teach you how to play the piano. I could not imagine buying such a book, but it sells like crazy. It's throughout popular culture. This ad is everywhere. Vaudeville comedians are like using it as part of their, like, they laughed when I sat down at the piano because the stool was gone. Like, it became such a big part of pop culture at the time. John Caples wrote more and more ads, became a really popular direct response copywriter. He's young, he used to be an engineer, he gave it up. He goes home. His mother, his family is very well-to-do. His dad's a physician in New York. His mother is like a socialite. He goes home and he brings his book of these high-converting ads that he's put out there. Brings it and he sits down with his mom and he shows his mom. And she flips through it, this incredible book of work that he's got. And she closes the book up at the end. And she says, "You better not let your father see this." And that, for me, is the moment. Of course, you can recognize good copy, really great copy, to look at it, especially if you're risk averse, especially if you're trying not to make people feel things, not to make them question things, to let them sleep. If that's your goal, this encapsulates why we need to work harder. We need to write copy that makes your mom nervous. Anybody who is scared for your future should not be reviewing your copy. Write copy that makes your mom nervous. Use problem agitation solution, and I am around for any questions that you may have. Thanks.